Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. I hope you are all doing good. I am playing with some polymer clay in this video. Now, if you guys know, I'm not a polymer clay professional. I really don't know much. I'm just learning as I go, but I fell down a TikTok polymer clay rabbit hole. And when I say I fell down it, I was on TikTok for hours watching polymer clay videos using these clay extruders. So, because I fell immediately in love, I ran to Amazon and I bought myself a clay extruder. It's quite a difficult thing to say as well. So in this video, I'm going to be using my heart cutter, a little round cookie cutter, and of course, I'm going to be using my tools. I have rolling pins, and then I found this one that I forgot I had. It's already got my spacers on there, which gives me a nice, even, flat roll on my polymer clay. So either one will work. Of course, if you don't really mind about it not being flat, which is me most of the time, you can use any roller. I've also got my blades here. Now, they are super sharp, so do be careful. But it's this baby. It's this gorgeous clay extruder that I was so excited about. And the videos I was watching were doing a specific thing with polymer clay that I needed to try. And it's these. It's these discs here that I'm going to need. They look almost like drain holes. If you look down your sink, they look like drain holes, or they look like those little doobies that you get to put over your drain holes to stop all of the hair getting down the bath. That's what they look like. I don't know how else to explain it. But what I am looking for is multiple snakes. So like a snake rollout of clay. And I want them to be completely and utterly uniform. I'm not going to be able to do that by hand. That is why. So you just take the top off, put in your desired cutter, put the top back on, and then, well, you don't have to put the top back on at this point. That's just me showing you. And then you just unravel the screw at the end, and that's going to just open up the whole tube. Now you can see here, I've already been having a play because I had to. So yeah, there's a bit of clay in there. Just get that out. Once you've got your little disc in the end, then it's time to work with your clay and get that filled up with your clay. Now, we are going with Valentine's, of course, because we are in Valentine's season. I want a pink, but I don't have the pink that I want, so I'm gonna make the pink that I want by mixing a little bit of red polymer clay into my very pale pink polymer clay, and this is the shade I've gone with. So the one in the middle is just a bit darker than the pale, but it's nowhere near red. It's just that perfect pink shade. And I've made myself enough for what I'm doing here. I'm just cutting it in half. This half here is going to be my base. So this is going to be my flat base layer onto which I'm going to be laying down what we create with the clay extruder. The polymer clay I'm using is the Fimo Soft polymer clay, and I bought a few different colours from Hobbycraft. Since I've been getting more into polymer clay, I figured I would invest in some more colours, and I love this stuff. Now, you do have to condition the clay when it first comes out of the packet. I have a pasta roller, and I just put it through the pasta roller over and over and over until it's nice and soft and malleable, and I can really work with it without hurting my hands. So once I've done that, I roll my clay into a sausage and I poke it down into my clay extruder and I screw the top on, and oh my gosh, this was the most satisfying part. You simply have to turn this handle and yeah, just turn it, and you think nothing's gonna happen, but then all of a sudden, all of these gorgeous, uniform, perfect snakes, it's the only word I've got, like snakes, come out of the end of the clay extruder. It did make me laugh at this point. I'm gonna speed it up because it was time consuming, but when the strands were coming out, it reminded me of those grass heads. Does anyone remember those? They were like a pair of tights in a ball, and inside the tights were like organic materials and grass seeds, and then you put it in water and the grass grows out of the head, and it usually had like a googly eye face on it. Anyway, that's what it reminded me of. Now, what are we making, I hear you ask? We are making knitted jumpers. So we're making knitted jumper effect polymer clay. So we need to start plaiting. I've got 3 strands of the polymer clay here, and I am working on one of my ceramic tiles that was left over from our bathroom renovation, and it fits in my oven perfectly, and you can work on tile perfectly with polymer clay. So I've got 3 strands, I've pinched them together at the top, and then you plait. I am simply doing a 3-stranded plait, a really basic plait, trying my best to keep it as uniform as possible, as neat as possible, making sure I've got no huge gaps and everything looks pretty same. Next up, we're going to do some twists. So I'm just pinching 2 strands together in my left hand, using my right hand to twist it over. That is it. These do not get any more simple, and I think it's definitely one for everyone to get involved in. You don't need any, PPE. You can drink your cup of tea and eat your snacks while you're doing this. Once I've done my twist, I just pinch it both ends and I push it down onto my tile to keep it uniform and keep it in place. And then I carry on and I do another twist. At this point, what you do in your pattern is entirely up to you. Genuinely, guys, you know me. If you know me, you know. If I had the patience to just do plaits, I would have just done plaits. I would have just done plaits because I think plaits would have given me such a spectacular result. But I figured I was kind of like, mix it up a little bit and do a few things that I have seen on TikTok. Okay. We laid out our first piece of polymer clay, that piece that we rolled at the beginning. That's now our base. That's going to allow all of these pieces to stick to it, and it's going to make my pieces really, really firm. In the center, I've laid down my plait. Now, I'm pressing gently but firmly. I want all of these pieces that I've made using the extruder to stick nicely to my nice flat bed of polymer clay. And again, I'm pressing down and gently. I'm not pushing in. I'm not kind of deforming what I've made so far. The worry for me was that I was going to press too hard and I was just going to flatten it all out. But I'm just making sure that everything is pretty much adhered to that base. And I'm hoping that you can really see the vision at this point, and it is like a chunky knit jumper. I absolutely love this effect so much. Now, this is one of those things that you really have to take yourself off to do. You have to grant yourself, allow yourself the time to sit down and make these, because granted, it is a lot of fiddly little work to create not much in the end. Depending on what kind of scale you're working on, for me, all of this work that I've just put in is not necessarily going to give me tons and tons of polymer clay pieces at the end of it. And that's absolutely fine, because it is the actual experience of putting all this together that was most fun. I just carried on. So I made more twists, and in between the plait and the twists, I was just laying down one single strand, because again, I've watched that many TikToks and people were doing that as well. And I just thought, wow, at this point, it looks like a scarf, like an entire scarf. I absolutely love it. This was enough for me to be able to fit my heart cutters on. And I was kind of like testing it with the cutter, like, have I got enough? If not, I'll put an extra line on it. But at this point, it was enough for my heart cutters. And you can see here, I'm going to cut out my shapes and there's still quite a lot of excess clay left over. So you really are putting a lot of work in just to get that absolutely beautiful chunky knit sweater effect in an actual small area, and that's fine. I then used a real small round cookie cutter. This is the smallest one that comes in my kit, and just to cut out some round ones. Now, these can be anything you want them to be. They can be necklaces, earrings, bag charms, phone charms, really and truly anything you want them to be. They could be key rings, of course, as well. But they are super cute, very lovey, because I've used the pink and I've used the hearts, and look at these. They're so adorable. Now, these are what I am calling, well, not just me, the whole world. These are what I am calling my chunky knit. So these are definitely more of a chunky knit vibe. And they are far from being neat. Please remember that. I am very new to polymer clay, and I am most certainly even newer to this tool. So there were areas on my polymer clay that were almost cracking. They looked like they were cracking, and I was a bit worried about that. I spoke to my patrons over on my Patreon page, and I got some amazing advice from Abby, one of my patrons who is a polymer clay artist. But yeah, I definitely saw some cracking in there, so I was a bit worried about it. Now, We're going even smaller, guys. I've made my chunky knit and now it is time to make my teeny tiny little knit. This was unreal. The way this one came out, I've used the disc that has one of the smallest holes. This is not even the smallest. I can get way smaller, but I was like, my hands, there's absolutely no way I've got the dexterity to plait those tiny strands. But these were cool. I figured I could work with this kind of length and this thickness. But when I say fiddly, I mean, oh my goodness me. I had to trust the process and let my mind really go and get into it and put my music on and just get lost in the creation, because they were sticking all over. My hands were knocking them around. I was bashing it about and I was like, okay, come on, Claire. But again, I've sped this up for you because in real time, it was not like this. It was not like this. I'm showing you what it was like in real time now. It was fiddly. It was slow. It was making sure that every single time I put a strand through my plait that I wasn't just distorting it the whole time. So again, I'm doing a similar thing here. I'm using 3 strands for this one and I'm just doing a twist and I'm pushing it down either end, and same again with this one. Now you can see here it starts to kind of get ununiform, so there were areas where it wasn't quite twisting properly, but I decided that when it came to laying it down, I would simply cut them up. So instead of making one long kind of knit, I'm going to cut some of these in half and just make a section, and that was really all I was looking for at this point. But I love the tiny knit. This was so... It was just so satisfying to see the tiny, minute detail that you can get in the smaller knit. I mean, I love the chunky knit, don't get me wrong, but this one stole my heart. I was like, this is adorable. I could spend hours, but you know me, guys. About an hour is long enough for me. I wish I could spend all day doing this kind of thing. But I did exactly the same thing. So my plait went down in the middle and then I put just simple 1-line strands in between each and every twist and each plait. I definitely want to try this again on a day where I can spend hours making plaits. Because imagine a whole one of plaits. And again, like I said, this is a lot of work to go in to just creating 2 polymer clay pieces. So it's totally worth it. But it does make me think, oh gosh, all of that work and all I've got out of it is 2 polymer clay pieces. I have to try and get my mind out of that. Get my brain out of that mindset, you know, take myself away from that mindset and realize that what I create at the end is absolutely worth it. Because look at these. They are so ridiculously tiny and adorable. And I'm so sorry for my hands, guys. I really need to start putting more cream on my hands. They're looking dry as anything at the minute, but I thought I'd get that in there just in case anyone was wondering why my hands look so battered. Yeah, here they are. I put them in the oven as per the guidelines, and this is actually the next day. We are putting our earring backings on these. Now, if you've been with me a while, you'll know that when I do make jewellery, I've only ever had silver. Those kind of, you know, when you buy jewellery findings on Amazon, you can buy them in bulk. You can buy big packs of silver or, you know, gold or bronze. I never had any gold until now. I have fully invested in all of the gold things. So the gold studs, the gold earrings, the trims, the jump rings, all of the things to enable me to make gold backed jewellery. And I think the gold and the pink work so well together. Now I am sticking my stud backings on with UV resin and using my UV light, but I understand there's multiple ways. You can use your glue, you can use E6000, you can use more polymer clay to bury your studs in. But again, just for timing, I'm just using UV resin. Let me know what you do in the comment section down below. These are adorable. They are also going to be earrings. I was umming and ahhing, like, what do I make these into? Because quite frankly, guys, I'm not going to wear these. Like, I don't generally wear earrings. I have my ears pierced, but I'm not going to walk around with these in my ears because why? For who? For me. But I did decide they have to be earrings because they're just adorably cute. I am using my newly purchased gold screw eyelets here, drilling a hole with my go-to jewellery drill, screwing in those eyelets, and the gold against this pink, unreal, totally beautiful. And I think personally for me works much better than the silver, but this is what they're looking like. And I bought this pack, so I purchased this whole entire jewellery findings kit. I will link it on all of my Amazon storefronts below, but it came with these adorable backing cards so that once you've made your things, if you're going to sell them on, you can actually set them in these backing cards as well. And I thought, okay, they look really professional and they're going to make me look professional, even though I don't know what I'm doing. So for these hearts, they did get the earring attachment that just slots into your ear, and I think they look adorable. I'm not going to coat these. You could varnish them, but I'm definitely not going to put any resin on them because look at them. Oh my gosh, they just look like snuggles, like snuggly earrings that look soft and fluffy and you could snuggle up to them, but they're polymer clay. Let me know which one you prefer, whether you prefer the chunky knit or the fine knit detailed, and let me know if this is something that you are gonna try. If you do, I would absolutely love to see what you make. Again, this is fully inspired by TikTok. Definitely not me. This is not anything to do with me having original ideas here. This is me directly copying and being fully inspired by polymer clay artists across TikTok. Way too many to mention, but if you go to TikTok, there's thousands of incredibly talented polymer clay artists. I hope you have enjoyed. I am in love with my new clay extruding tool, even though it looks like a surgical device, but it works great for this, and I will see you all in the next video. And if you do this, don't forget #ClaireMadeMeDoIt, and yeah, do not forget to give me that thumbs up at the end if you've enjoyed this. I'll see you next time. Bye.